Personal pronouns, what are they? Personal pronouns are pronouns first, which means they have an antecedent. A pronoun is always standing in for some other noun. That's what we mean by antecedent. A personal pronoun is a pronoun that has person. We talk about first person, second person, third person. But first of all, what is an antecedent? Well, here we have a passage of Scripture, and you'll see the pronouns here highlighted, bold-faced. And notice here, and behold, a Canaanite woman from that region came out and was crying, "Have mercy on me." Me is a pronoun. The antecedent is this Canaanite woman. Instead of repeating her identity, she says, "Have mercy upon me." He down here is a pronoun, but he did not answer her. That is Jesus. And the disciples say, "Send her away, for she's crying out after us." The antecedent of us is disciples. So you'll see that a pronoun is an antecedent. That is the essential characteristic of any pronoun. It has an antecedent. So next, what is person? I already mentioned first, second, and third person. Let's imagine two people talking together. This is probably the easiest way to understand this concept. And the person speaking is what we would call first person. That's why we use words like I, me, we, our, to talk about the first person, which is speaking, the speaker, the person who's doing the talking. So it makes sense then that the second person, when we use the term second person, we're referring to the one spoken to, the person who is receiving the message. And when we talk about third person, we're talking about the one spoken of. So the third person is not somebody who's part of the conversation, except insofar as he's being spoken of. So looking at a few examples here, then Pharisees and scribes came to Jesus from Jerusalem and said, "Why do your disciples break the tradition of the elders? For they," what person are those? Well, your represents the person spoken to and is therefore second person. They represents the person spoken of and is therefore third person. So here, Jesus is having a discussion, and they're talking about the disciples. And the disciples are not part of this conversation, and therefore the pronoun is in the third person. Whereas your, that's Jesus, he is a part of this conversation, and he's the second person, because the Pharisees and scribes came to Jesus, and they are the ones speaking to him. Another example, then Jesus called his disciples to him and said, "I." Now therefore, we can see that I is first person, as well as me, because he's the speaker. And first person is the speaker. So I have compassion on the crowd because they have been with me now 3 days. So I and me are both personal pronouns in the first person. Now here's two more verses from, looks like from Romans 10. Them is a pronoun in the third person. Who does the commandments shall live by them. Commandments obviously is not a part of the dialogue here. And do not say in your heart. That is a pronoun in the second person.